Good. Alrighty.
All right, guys, fall in on coach.
Alrighty, so backpack drill. That's where we're starting. So one, as always, thank you guys for having me up. Today we're going to work some back positioning, some back attacks, some back escapes, kind of good stuff. It'll work gi, no gi, MMA. All this is pretty applicable depending on where you're trying to compete. Stuff I teach a lot down at Top Team. We're going to start with kind of the warm-up technique / drill that I like. It's called the backpack drill. So a couple things. When I'm here and I have James's back, one of my uglier purple belts, but he's wearing a contrasting color gi to me. You're going to have one hand over, and when that hand comes over, you want to put that flat on his chest. That seems like a minimal detail at the moment. It'll become much more important when I go to start choking and doing other things. So you want this hand flat on the chest. The other hand you're bringing underneath his armpit, grabbing your own wrist or the fatty part of your own hand. I prefer wrist. I feel like I get a better kind of bite there, but that's kind of up to me. Positionally, a couple things you want to be aware of. You do not want to cross your feet unless you just like having your ankles broken. Do not cross your feet. Because if James simply crosses his foot over, arches his hips, my feet break, it's a really unfun moment for everyone involved. So you're just kind of pinching those knees lightly and digging those heels kind of into the crotch a little bit. So when I'm there, here. My chest, I want to have my kind of Superman logo, like if I was Superman, I want to put that right on the center of his back. I do not want it up kind of across his shoulders. I do not want it low on his back. I want to kind of have it here to where I can just barely rest my chin on his shoulder. Right here. Becomes important when we go to do other things. Now, when we're here, I'm going to turn this way. So when we're here, we're going to work the backpack drill, which is an active drill for both guys. For me, it's, hey, I can retain the back if I just keep a hold of this grip and re-attack. For the bottom man, it is practicing on how to escape the back in the most simple way. So we're here. James is going to fall away from my choking hand, here. He's going to walk his hips out over my knees and look to stay there. So he's working on his escape. For me, I'm going to walk my feet back, come here to my knees, walk him forward. Once I've walked him forward, I'm going to elevate his elbow, step the leg in, pull him back, reposition myself to retake the back. At that point, James is going to switch sides. Boom, he's going to walk his hips out, escape the back again. I'm going to come up to my knees again, sit him up, look to take the back. And you can run this drill for time or for back and forth. What I want you guys to do to start with is just running it, escape both sides, then switch. Does that make sense? Questions on this as just a simple drill. We'll go over some of the more technical aspects of the escape when I teach you that separately. We're just starting this as the drill so you get the concept of the motion first. Questions, comments, concerns? All right, driller out. 1, 2, 3. The technical side of this escape, James is going to have my back, and I'm going to show you guys, more of the concepts. Scoot that way for me, brother. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. You're good. Oh. So I'm here, right? James has his backpack drilled properly. Couple things we want to be aware of fairly quickly whenever someone takes your back. Because no one's ever gotten their back taken and been like, hey, we're in a great spot here. Let's continue to be here, right? You need to escape this position pretty quickly and pretty cleanly if you want to survive. So when I'm here, couple things you want to do immediately. You have to identify the choking hand, which is always going to be the hand that is over your shoulder, because that has the cleanest line to your neck. So same side hand, you're always going to want to control that elbow and put your chin into the opposite shoulder. So you're kind of looking away from that choke. Because if I'm here and I let James start to try to get in there, he has to get my chin up to set up that choke. So I always want to have that kind of tucked away. If this hand can, you're always going to look to get wrist control here. Because now you have control of the choking hand. And he's going to have to switch sides and do a whole lot of motion to be able to start choking you at this point. Unless he's got some slicker options, which we can show later. So once we're here, I want to fall away from the choking hand. When we work on chokes from the back, we refer to this as the pillow of death. Because if you lay here, eventually you're going to get choked. This is not a good place to set, so you don't want to fall that direction. So you want to get here, here, and I like to fall, boom, to that open side. Couple things you want to do pretty quickly. One, you need to clear this bottom leg, and two, get your hips pointed to the ceiling. So I'm here, I'm going to hit kind of that, he's got a decent hook here. I'm going to straighten, big step over, post that foot in the mat, and get my hips pointed towards the sky. This is going to give you options for the escape. Once you're here, I like to almost hit it like you would a shrimp and start creating some space and distance with my hips while maintaining control of this arm. Because as soon as you get here, I want to look to drop this elbow to the mat here and block him from coming up on top of me if possible. Not always going to work out that way, but can be ideal if you can manage it. But if you're here, James is going to look to come up, boom. You can sometimes land on top, but realize that's the ideal world. Most of the time you're going to land somewhere in between half guard and side control. Realize much better than getting your ass kicked from your back. So that's going to be the goal. Realize whenever you're in really bad positions, the goal is not get immediately to good positions. It's get out of bad position first. I've seen way too many people be in mount and then try some bullshit somersault escape and be like, oh, well, how'd I end up in a worse position? You didn't get out of bad position first. So we're here, here. Defend the choke. Always protect yourself at all times. Boom. Fall to that side. Clear that leg. Post, post. Start getting your hips away and creating that space. And I'm using this elbow to block his hips because if I don't, he's just going to take mount here. And then you traded one pad position for another. For those of you who enjoy MMA, probably a worse position to give up the mount because I can hit you from there pretty hard. So you're using that elbow so that if James starts to come up here, I can use that to block. Even if I don't take top position and he comes on top here, I've at least got him back in front of me. I've gotten some semblance of a guard in place and I can work from there. Questions on this back escape? Because we're going to work this one, a couple more, and I'm going to show you a couple finishes from the back. All right. So questions on this? Here. Defend. Walk yourself out. Block in. Come on top. From a technicality standpoint, there is not a lot there, right? It's a fairly simple move. It's very hard to do when people are trying to choke you. Get the technique right here, so that way when people are actually trying to choke you, much easier, okay? 1, 2, 3, some of it sticks. So, we're here. All right, so this escape I like a lot more for no gi, but it is applicable in the gi. We call it a slip and slide escape, mainly because it works that way in no gi. But we're here, you still get to the same position, but for whatever reason, you just don't feel confident kind of slipping out to that side. So we're here, you're gonna look to get that elbow grip real wide and open, and you have to hand fight to where both your hands are to the inside to get to what I like to refer to as the home alone position. Right? Both elbows in, he does not have underhooks on. So you're gonna have to do that in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's hand fighting in this way, clearing the elbows, but you gotta get to where he does not have underhooks and you're in that kind of guarded position. Couple reasons. One, if you slide out with him having an underhook, congratulations, you armbarred yourself. It was a trap of your own making. But two, you have to have your hands here, especially in the pajamas, in case they start wanting to grab your collars. So you want to get to here to where you can really defend yourself. Then you're going to dig your heels right into the mat. And you're going to look to scoot and scoot and scoot as many times as you need. When you're drilling it, it's going to be probably 3. When you're in a competition, it's probably 4 to 7. But you want to escape your hips all the way to one of your shoulders drops below his knee. As soon as that happens, you're going to turn to that side and look to come up. Now, a couple things you want to be aware of when you turn into him. One, you do not want to dive into his guard one hand in, one hand out. You will triangle yourself. But two, you want to come up with as much leg control as you can, or all you've done is create a scramble. So we're here. Boom, you hand fight, you get in, clear those hands. I like to use my elbows that little bit to help kind of disengage his legs. Then you're scooting yourself, boom, here. As soon as that shoulder drops out, post, come up, boom, looking for control, looking to come up on top and pass when possible. All right? But once again, the goal is escape the back, not escape the back into full mount or something crazy. You got to just escape first, and then we'll figure out the rest from there. Question on this one, yes sir.
You mentioned having both arms out because if you leave one in, you get triangled. What does that look like so I know how to...
So from when I turn in?
Yeah.
So I'll show you a couple of the mistakes you guys will all make. One of you will leave an underhook in place, and you'll be like, hey, I'm really comfortable here. And then you'll scoot out, and you'll be like, oh, he's armbar. That's really not a great idea. Two, the other one a lot of you will make is you'll scoot out, and then as you hip turn in, you'll come here. And you'll get yourself choked. So, big thing is white belt jujitsu 101. If I am between James's legs, I have two options. Both hands in, both hands out. One hand in is just problems of a varietal sake. He can go triangle, he can go armbar, he can go omoplata, even though it's not a real submission. He can go a variety of things that I don't appreciate. You can argue with me all you want. Omoplatas are not submissions. They're wrist locks with more steps. Argue all you want, I'm right. Questions on that slide I was getting. Did that answer your question pretty well?
Thank you.
So a lot of the times what happens is in that scramble, people just kind of dive at the person because they're like, hey, if I can just get control of their hips, that's great. Make sure both hands come in at that point, not just the one. Other questions here? All right, drill her out. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna work on some, oh no, you're in front, I get to choke you now. Fuck. So now we're gonna work on some attacks from the back. We're just gonna draw in some of the kind of higher level details and a couple finishing options for you guys whenever you have the back. Because a lot of you guys will know kind of some of the basic techniques, but I wanna make sure we kind of harbor in some of the real technical side of things. Because positionally, I've noticed, especially at top team, we've been getting out of position in the back a lot of the time. So a couple things I want to work on. One, when I'm here, I have to keep my chest into the center patch of his back. So for our gis, it's very simple. Our chest should stay on the top team logo at all times. But you have to be able to stay there and still attack. So a couple things we're going to work on. One is just that simple rear naked choke. So a lot of the time, I am going to look to be on that pillow of death. So I'm here, turn this way, ever so slightly. Boom. And we fall this way, right? So a couple details, and I'm going to have you drill it two different ways. When I'm here, I like to drag this hand in and scoop with my wrist and forearm. Remember when I told you guys it would become a more important detail of why this hand was flat on the chest? Well, when most guys go to escape the back, they're going to hand fight, and a lot of people will grab the top hand. So they'll go here and try to start breaking that grip. That's perfect because this hand is going in choking position. So we're here, I use that to scoop. And I like to just tap my hand right over his shoulder as early as I can, even if this hand's not free. Now, to get the motion that I reach for next, I always teach in these weird little catchphrases. Reach for your gun. From here, reaching back for that pistol on my hip. Here. Once we're there, you have two finishing options. You can go traditional RNC, or my preferred, which is a hand-to-hand, we call it Captain America grip because it looks like you're holding your shield. Right here. So if you're going to go to the more traditional kind of RNC finish, you're here. You want to make sure you have the point of his chin and the point of your elbow here. You want to sneak your hand in. This hand coming to the elbow, this hand coming behind the head. One of the big mistakes I see a lot of people make is they're like, oh yeah, I'll do this. And then they bring their hand right out front, and you can actually get hit with the silly arm. So when we're here, I will start my hand behind his head and then sneak this one in. Now, from a squeeze technique, I'll let James breathe for a second because I do like him most. Here, it is a pinch and a cut. not an arch and grip. That is the big mistake I see a lot of people make. Realize that if you're in the middle of a choke and you're like, and you're having to like,
Probably got it.
you probably don't. You should probably like adjust. So I always describe it the same way. It's the panic wiggle. If you're ever rolling live with someone and you get a choke on them and you start to squeeze, you'll feel that immediate, I don't know if it's physiological, whatever it is, but everyone responds the same way. They immediately kind of do that, trying to get you off their neck. So when I get to James on this, and I'm doing this choke right, if I get here and I start to squeeze, and I don't feel him start to move and immediately respond to that choke, I know that I probably need to adjust or situate myself. But if I go here, I'm pinching this elbow in and cutting this hand down, I should pretty quickly feel that panic wiggle set in. And so if you hit that squeeze and you're squeezing for 3-4 seconds, it should be slow and steady. A lot of people will have seen the bad early 2000s UFC highlights where the guy grabs the rear naked choke and he's like, ah! And they're like, you should have to squeeze like that. No. I should very easily be able to put James out while still having a polite conversation with you all. That's technically where you should be at with this. If you're like, Dustin, you talk when you roll? Sometimes, because I like to bully people. So, my favorite is when I'm rolling with people and I'm coaching people next to us. Because it really mind fucks people. Because I'm rolling with you and coaching someone else, which means I'm concurrently syncing through 2 jiu-jitsu matches at the same time. So, it's called bullying, guys. You get there eventually. So, we're here, squeezing in. Now, if you're going to the Captain America grip, you want to have your hand reach all the way through, where your wrist is just over his shoulder so that you can get it back there. Here, you go palm to palm. I'm driving my elbow into his back while squeezing my wrist over. I like that grip, especially for you guys who are going to get into MMA. Much easier to do with gloves. So that's why that's a very nice technique. Remember, no thumbs, because if you lock your thumbs in, you'll break them, which is really fun to do. You've never broken a thumb, at least almost everything in your life works. So you're here, I'm squeezing this way while driving him forward. Now, notice in all of this, my chest has stayed on his back, my shoulder just over my chin just over his shoulder. And the nice part is, on that Captain America one, I like to do it on the side that my chin's on, so that way my face is in the way of his hand fight. So if James goes to fight hands here, my chin's in the way. Okay? Questions on this one? 2 fairly simple techniques that you both have seen before, but you got to tighten up the details. Realize, I promise you, the difference in between my black belt and your white belts is not magic. It's milliseconds and millimeters. I'm milliseconds faster than you, and I'm millimeters tighter. That's the only difference. And the difference in between me and really high-level black belts is that same thing. It's all a game of how tight and how fast you can get there. All right? 1, 2, 3. I'm back. Okay. All right. So this next one is going to be the arm bar and some of the problems I see a lot of people run into on this transition here. So a lot of times you get here and people kind of fall off and then try to swing back and finish this. And what ends up happening is in that transition, the people just kind of turn into you. So a couple things you want to clean up on that arm bar. One, making sure you have a solid grip. So I like to go straight from my backpack to a Kimura grip. I will literally just trap that top side arm. Here. I will then use the opposite foot to post to the hip, and then I will take my opposite leg kind of across him like you would a seatbelt. Boom, here. Kind of shifting off to that side. Once you're here, I roll that elbow into his neck. Because now if James goes to start turning into me, I have that frame I can use to keep him here, and I have that seatbelt nice and tight across him. Once we're here, I'm going to look to hit James in the face with the pit of my knee. So I'm here, my leg comes over. It is not swing like boom and try to come back. It is over, bop. Sit them back aggressively because, you know, you need enemies in life. Now, most people struggle with grip breaking here. So we're going to turn it that way. So we're going to go over a couple grip breaks that I like once you get here, because I'm trying to combine a few things at once, get you guys your time's worth here. All right, one, you can just very simply kick out. Now, you only kick out with the body side. Do not kick out the head side because you will give them an escape. So when you're here, boom, you kick out, let body side, and you fight him at his wrist. A lot of people will sit in an armbar and they will pull his elbow. Even unattached, I can pull his elbow till I'm blue in the face. It's never going to work. Cheat that wrist out to the end, fight him at the end of the lever here. Once you're here, pinch the knees, attach it to your chest, raise the hips. You're not pulling a lever, you're attaching and elevating your hips, okay? The other very simple one I like to teach is just an elbow collapse here. So you're going to reach with your top hand over the top. You're going to grab his elbow, pull it to you. Slide your elbow over. Here. Just how you unpack their hands. So you're here, a lot of people, you can break this way, you can break that way. There's 1,000 arm break, grip break things you can do from here. You can bicep slice, there's 1,000 options, right? Simplest one, you reach across, grab their elbow. Pull their elbow to your opposite, kind of that head side hip. Here. Here. Okay? So, big details that a lot of people mess up on this. One, they try to swing armbar from directly behind their opponent. So they're here and they try to like come around. You want to shift off to that side first. So we're here, you establish that grip. Shift, get that seat belt into position here. That's going to allow you to come here, boom, snap that leg back, hammer that heel to the floor to get them to lay down on their back. Break the grip in whatever way you feel fancy enough doing. You can scoop the arms, you can kick the bicep, you can wrist lock, there's all sorts of fun. Make sure you're pulling at the end of the wrist to finish though. Questions on this one?
You like Evanescence?
I mean, I do. I was a moody teenager in the early 2000s. Who doesn't?
My Chemical Romance too.
Shinedown was one of my all-time favorite bands. I mean, I was a moody teenager who listened to 45 in my room in the dark. Come on now. 1, 2, 3. Favorite and probably one of the only actual gi chokes I use in real life is the bow and arrow choke. So I'm here. Boom. I get into this position. I get my back back. I still have my head position where I want it to be. I'm here, right? All I'm going to look to do is open James's collar, and I want my thumb right on his collarbone here. And I'm going to set that grip here. Now, there's a couple ways you can finish this. I'm going to show you them all kind of at once. I want you guys to kind of find what you like best. You'll like this one, Rob. So boom, I still do that same shift off to the side like I would last time. Now, option A, you're going to, on all of these, you're looking to basically drag your thumb around his throat like you're trying to cut his throat, like you're a savage. Boom, here. Now, option A, you just go hand behind the head, set him to the side, finish it there. Okay? So you're here, here, pull, finish, right? Option B, you pull that around. This hand goes from the underhook to the knee. You pull that to your chest, put your leg over, pull there, and you're pulling it like you would a bow. Option B, for those of you who don't have the leg flexibility to drive that leg over his shoulder. You still grab the pit of that knee. You just try to tuck your knee behind your elbow. Kind of putting your shin across his back. Drive in, finish that way. And for those of you who need more enemies in your life, you just don't like people and you just want to make sure everyone knows it. You grab here, I'm going to loosen this grip because I like James. You get here, you keep that seat belt, and you're going to put your shin on the opposite ear. So you're here, here. And you pull. And you pull start a lawnmower with that one. Really drive your shin across their face. Because sometimes in life you need more enemies. You don't need more friends. So, questions on those 4. The basic mechanic is all the same. You hand fight to get to your collar. You cut that same angle staying tight. Chest right behind his shoulder here. It's A, B, C, or D. Questions on that? A lot of options there. You'll have to see what works best for you, but all of those are equally efficient and effective. It just depends on what your game is and what you're most comfortable with, positionally. Ashley?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, is there one that works better for shorter people for taller opponents that you've noticed, or does it not?
Shorter people, I will tell you, the leg coming over, whether it's to the shoulder or over the ear, gonna be typically more difficult unless you're just uber flexible.
That's what I was thinking, just do things.
So for you, I would say going to kind of the power half version or the knee behind version is gonna have a lot of just mechanical strength because you're just in a good position with shorter limbs. For those of you who are a little more flexible, that's where this one comes in because you have to be able to bring your heel to your face pretty quickly. And so that's one that if you're not flexible, gonna be tough for you. But if you are flexible, it's a very violent choke very quickly, which is why I like it and why I try to hit it as often as I can. I don't like people. All right, other questions on kind of just positionally how we're getting here or any finer detail points on the finish. The big one on this one is, guys, pull their collar down and around. Once you can get that into position, then it's just picking your finish at that point. All right?
Can you run through all 4 of them?
Yep. You just want to see me choke James. Yeah. So boom, I'm here, off to the side, boom, into that power half. I'm generally going to lay that down towards it, his free arm. So the reason I do that is a lot of people will do exactly what James did and try to catch themselves while I choke them. Boom, you're here, you post off to that side, grab that knee, foot comes over the shoulder, you're peeling his chest open while you're pulling that through. Okay? Once you're here, boom, we're working, boom, slide that knee to the inside of your elbow. I'm driving him into it while pull starting that mower, and I like to drag here as well. Just keeping him tight to me, like I'm breaking the stick over my leg. Boom. And for the enemy maker, boom, you get here, here, boom, here. I'm gonna let go of my grip so that James can breathe. You're here, you're trying to force his head that way while you're pulling his gi through his back like you're pull starting that mower. All right? Questions? Choke your friends. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Head arm.
Dylan asked me to show this real quick, and then we'll jump into some rolls and some other fun stuff. So I'm here. Let's say I'm in mount and for whatever reason I need to take his back. Maybe it's points, maybe I suck in mount, maybe it's I'm ugly like Dewey and I don't want to be face to face with the guy. Who knows, right? Like you can run into a lot of reasons you don't want to be in mount with somebody. One of the easiest ways I like to take mount, we call it a combat back take, but we're here. I'm gonna put my hand flat on James's chest. My other hand, I'm gonna put right behind his elbow. I'm gonna look to sit back, and I'm gonna drive my hand forward to where it gets behind James's head, and I'm gonna drive my chest forward so that it pushes his arm up. Here. Once we get here, I'm gonna turn you this way. Boom, I'm gonna look to sit James up to his side, here, and post this foot in the mat, kind of like that seatbelt we were talking about. Now, what a lot of people will do here to take the back is, they'll kind of fall backwards here and they'll be like, get on top of me, please. It'd be really nice if you would just lay there on top of me. I don't like to be flat on my back with him on top of me. I may have the back right here, but I'm not in great position for this. So boom, when I get here, I like to set him up here and fall him onto this side. Boom. As I shift my hips around him. Because I like to hit a very simple foot block. Boom. Because once I'm here, you can come to the traditional mount, or if you're long-legged or they're real skinny, you can go body triangle. But you can also go to what's called a gorilla choke. So you're here, this hand's already in position, rear naked choke grip. But we're here. The big thing is for a lot of people is it's not pull him on top of me and hope I land on top. I almost am pulling him up to that seated position so that I can come around him. I want this knee to come all the way around and us fall across our body. Does that make sense? So if his head's pointed towards that wall, when we start this, his head should point towards the door when you finish. Boom, come here, if you want an extra here, you can go gorilla choke, because sometimes you need to choke. Questions on that? Does that answer?
Yeah, the back take is what I want you guys to get black belt lesson on. The transition, once you fall over, is not holding him on top, it's over that leg and following the back.
Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's drill that out a few times, and then we'll jump into some time. No, you had a moment for questioning. I'm just kidding. Boom, I'm here. Boom, I isolate them up. I like to kind of walk people forward here and step into this combat mount. Be careful about getting your chest above his armpit, though. I do notice that a lot on people. They'll kind of come way up here, and then they turn back into you. So you want to keep your chest behind his armpit. Here, sit him up. Come behind him as you pull him through. Then you can take the back, gorilla choke, start going for other things. Options bar a bit. Questions?
Awesome, thank you.
Good. Good. I wasn't going to answer anymore.
Fair point.
1, 2, 3.